step forward, unquote, on compliance with the Leveson report after announcing that members of the public might be able to take libel action against newspapers for an upfront fee of just £50. Sounds like great news, but is there more to it? Dr. Evan Harris, his area of expertise, will join me on that one a little later. Is it ever possible to return to a public-facing or high-profile job after a conviction for sexual assault? This is the former Coronation Street actor Bruno Langley, who played Todd Grimshaw in Coronation Street, admitting today in court to groping two women at a music venue in Manchester at the beginning of October. He admitted 2 sexual assaults and was sentenced to a 12-month community order by Manchester Magistrates Court. The court heard that Langley had grabbed the crotch of one woman and touched the breasts and bottom of another while drunk. The prosecutor, Karen Safman, said the actor had clearly been intoxicated when he approached the first woman, who was out with her husband. Langley claims to have no knowledge of what happened. He was handed the 12-month community order, including 40 days of rehabilitation activity, ordered to wear an electronic tag, observe a curfew and pay £250 compensation to his victims. He must also sign the sex offenders register for 5 years. He was sacked by the soap when this news first emerged. The question that I find rather interesting on the back of this, that in effect, this kind of offence, but if you are an actor in this case, but any sort of high-profile, public-facing kind of job, you're sort of sentenced twice, because he's been sentenced to everything I've just listed there. But there's also the court of public opinion, which means he's lost his entire career. This man will never return to the cobbles. I doubt whether he'll ever act again in any professional capacity. Should there be? And I genuinely don't know. I keep kind of straying from one side of this one, thinking, well, we don't live in a world. I didn't think our judicial system was meant to punish you twice. But specifically with these kind of offences, it's really rather difficult to put somebody back on, in this case, back on television in a sort of high-profile role that has, certain rewards that go with it. I think this is the sort of thinking we all, rightly or wrongly, we all think like this. Well-paid job, a good life, done very well, served his sentence, which was never a custodial anyway. Could you ever put that guy back on the television? 0345 6060 973. Instinctively, my answer is, well, no, you can't put him back on television. I've argued this consistently with footballers. The well-known case of McCormick, of course, who was jailed after a drink-driving incident which resulted in the death of 2 children. He's now back playing professional football. Many people are uncomfortable with that. It's a job where he walks out onto a pitch and people cheer and clap. The man who killed 2 kids. Adoration should never be part and parcel of the remainder of that man's journey. But then, of course, that isn't what he was sentenced to. He was sentenced to go to jail, and he went to jail and he served his time, and no doubt he feels horrendous for what happened, and I would imagine, in all probability, he wouldn't do it again. When it comes to a sexual offence, that's even more tricky, isn't it? I mean, what are we expecting? Sexual offenders never work again anywhere. Is that part of the deal? It doesn't matter how on the spectrum, on the scale, if you like, and whether you like it or not, there kind of is a scale of severity when it comes to sexual offences. You may find yourself serving a lifetime in prison for a sexual offence. It may be in this case that you get a non-custodial sentence, still have to sign the register as a sex offender. But what are you meant to? Is that person never meant to work again for the remainder of their days? Or if they do work, they just can't work in the profession they want to work in? It was interesting, actually. He was fired kind of instantly from the soap when this came around, which would sort of suggest to me that, bearing in mind he admitted today in court what he had done, which is why this only ever made magistrates' court. If he'd have pleaded not guilty, it would have gone on to a Crown Court trial. But it was all rather swift. He admitted, yes, I did this. He was remorseful. He was apologetic. I'm assuming, I don't think it's a leap of judgment, that he probably had a similar conversation with his bosses on Coronation Street who said, well, the fact that you're saying you did this is reason for us to terminate the contract. He'll appear on screen until around about Christmas Eve, but won't be making any more episodes. That's the end of it. It's a spectacular fall. This was a character, just to give you a little bit of backstory, that was an intriguing character, quite a liked character, a dark character in some respects, moments of humour as a character, quite central and quite high profile to the cast of Coronation Street, I would argue. And he's gone, and I doubt whether he will work in any acting capacity again. So whilst I can see the obvious reasons behind it, there's another part of me that's just a little, and it's difficult to say uncomfortable, because I don't want to sound as if I'm diluting the severity of what somebody has done. I'm certainly not doing that. But I'm not aware of anything in our legal system that says you'll be punished twice. But in effect, if you commit a sexual offence, they call this, a non-custodial sentence. But I think you could have gone to jail for grabbing somebody in that manner in a night out as he was having, intoxicated or not. There's not a mitigating circumstance. The fact that you were utterly blotto at the time. The fact that he's mortified, the fact that he pleaded guilty, the fact that he didn't drag anyone through a lengthy court case, maybe there is something in that that perhaps a magistrate considered, I don't know. But the bottom line is that it's two sentences. It's the sentence you get by the court, and then it's the sentence of your career being removed. Is it just tough on sexual offenders at whatever level, or whatever scale, I should say, that if you commit that kind of crime, you just ain't going to be working in any sort of high-profile, public-facing job? It's just the wording of it, isn't it? A sexual offender. It says predatory. It sort of says you're likely to do it again. It feels perpetual rather than past. And that's tough. I'm not losing any sleep over the fact that somebody has to walk around with that tag. But are we a society that wants to punish somebody for the next 60 years? Is that how it works? Is that how the system works? 0345 6060 973. I can't imagine how, and bearing in mind, these were women that were out on a night out. One was out with her husband, and suddenly a very drunk man approaches and grabs, it's not pleasant information, but this is relevant to the story, which is why I will tell you this, grabs the crotch of one woman and then touches the breast and the bottom of another. His friend, recognising that Langley was too intoxicated to talk, I would imagine, apologised on his behalf. The two women kind of exchanged notes and realised they'd both been on the receiving end of this behaviour. And then, of course, the police were called and he was arrested, and the rest we now know. I mean, I would imagine, I know what it's like to be smacked in the face by somebody in a club, and that was deeply unpleasant. I would imagine for a woman to have that happen to her, regardless of any sliding scale of severity, I can't imagine that is something that you just go home and go, oh, it's a terrible night out, this happened, that happened, a man grabbed me. I can't imagine that would be anything other than absolutely devastating. So if you're the victim of that, the idea that you would then sit and watch somebody on the TV enjoying the trappings of fame and the money that goes with it would be, I would imagine, bothersome in the extreme. However, our legal system doesn't work like that. Our legal system doesn't say we're going to punish you here and then we're going to punish you again. Should sex offenders ever be able to return to a public-facing or high-profile job? 0345 6060 973. There's two particular groups of people I'd like to speak with on this. If you've been the victim of a crime such as this, and bearing in mind the description I gave, this is a man admitting groping to women. He wasn't convicted of rape, but he was convicted of what I would still consider to be a serious offence. So he's admitted groping 2 women. If you've been on the receiving end of that, if you know as a victim what that feels like, just explain. If you had the power to hand out a sentence on the perpetrator of the person that perpetrated a crime against you, what would you be giving somebody like that? Would you say, yes, you give up your right to any kind of public position or high-profile position? Is that how it works? 0345 6060 973. And also, if you, and I will respect your anonymity if you want to call, have you ever been convicted of a crime such as this? We often talk about declaring criminality. I think on Sunday night we talked about that, didn't we? Whether you should declare your criminal record after so many years. And with these kind of offences, I think you pretty much have to for forever. How does that work? Where do you work? Where do you work if you've got a conviction for sexual assault? Now, in this case, he is not, by the way, making any excuses here. The only thing I can see to his credit is that it was a straightforward case of hands up, I did it, I was smashed, I've got no memory of it, I'm mortified, I'm sorry, and, I'm going to try and deal with things in the drink department so that nothing like this can ever happen again. That's his place on it. It doesn't make it any more palatable. But are we as a society meant to, at some level, understand? 0345 6060 973. Does it make a difference that it appears to have happened on one occasion? Often when a high-profile person is in court, other people will come forward. It's recognised as being, for many people, it's recognised as being a rather unfortunate way to do justice or investigations, but nonetheless the upshot can be that other people come forward. And in this case, as far as we know, that hasn't happened. It looks as if this is something he's done just once. But does it make a difference that he might have done this once? That a man with a drink problem is so intoxicated he doesn't remember walking into a venue, let alone doing anything else while he was there? Does that make any difference on a case such as this? And I'm interested in the wider point. This is not just about people who are working as actors. This goes across the board every day in magistrates and crown courts across the country. People are convicted for these kind of sexual offences. People who aren't rapists or serial attackers, but those that have groped and grabbed and still committed a serious offence. What's the way back for somebody who does that? Think of all the places you wouldn't want somebody working who's got that. You couldn't work as a teacher, for example. It might not be an offence that involves children. You just couldn't work as a teacher. You couldn't work as a youth worker. A lot of charities even if you thought, I'll redeem myself here. I'll do a profumo and dedicate my life to charity. There's a lot of charities. If you've got to have some kind of criminal CRB check, there's a lot of charities that would say, we don't want you working for us. Help the Aged, NSPCC. We don't want you around. That's possible as well. So where do you go as somebody who's been convicted, not a custodial sentence, so it wouldn't be seen in legalese as the most serious sexual offence, but nonetheless it is still a sexual assault. That means you've got to sign the sex offenders register. You're still categorised as that. Where does that person go? Where do they work? Or do we have to just say anyone who does that, unemployed for the rest of their life? End of. I'm absolutely sure that our legal system, our judicial system, is meant to say, you get sentenced to this, community service, a hefty fine, sign the register. Oh, and by the way, your career is removed forever, for the remainder of time. That's brutal. If you're looking for justice, there it is right there. You've got it. This kid's lost his gig forever, and I would doubt whether he'd be employed again. 0345 6060 973. That's the number. If you've been a victim, a perpetrator, just explain what your thoughts are on these kind of cases. You can text 84850. You're listening to Late Nights with Ian Collins, LBC.
Last time on the Nigel Farage Show.
I said it during the referendum campaign itself, that no deal is better than a bad deal. And this is a bad deal. In fact, it's not even a deal. Because if we offer all of this, they'll only come back and want more.
5 days of Farage. Monday to Thursday evenings from 7 and Sunday mornings from 10. The Nigel Farage Show. Only on LBC.
An amazing kitchen. An amazing bathroom. An amazing hallway. At Amazing Tiles, our range of porcelain, ceramic and bespoke tiles can make any home amazing. Right now, buy 5 metres or more of plain tiles and get a third off the retail price. Visit our showroom and warehouse at Park Royal Road, London, or call 0208 83 84 900. Make your home amazing at amazingtiles.com.
Successful investing can seem like a bit of a mystery, but many ordinary people have now learned how to use the stock markets to earn a second income without a second job. Online Trading Academy has taught thousands of people how to use its approach over 2 decades. The face-to-face workshops are delivered by down-to-earth presenters using know-how from financial institutions and outlines the plan to make profits, whether the markets go up or down. Whether you want to retire in style, put kids through university, or just increase your income, today Online Trading Academy London is offering a free investing kit so you can start learning how to improve your finances. No prior knowledge is necessary. Just go to otalondon.com or call 0800 088 5462 and get 2 free videos and a helpful guide. Plus, you can sign up for a free half-day workshop near you right now to help you learn how to change your financial life. Call 0800 088 5462. That's 0800 088 5462.
Relax, it's Trust a Trader. Just type in your postcode, what you need, and ta-da! Local tradespeople appear. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com. Kevin, did you open the kids' advent calendar again?
Sorry.
Keep everyone happy this Christmas with Mars and Nestle advent calendars, now 2 for £3. Another Christmas deal for you from the Co-op. 85 to 111 gram, individual price £2 to £3 each, cheapest item free, subject to availability. See participating stores for details. Offer ends 5th of December.
In the heart of London, find their heart's desire. Discover the perfect present in the home of fine diamond jewellery.
Shine bright like a diamond.
It could only be Hatton Garden this Christmas.
Shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky.
Visit hattongarden.shop.
Is your company innovative, successful, or rapidly growing? If so, it's likely that you'll be carrying out all sorts of research and development, even if you don't think of it as such. Contact Barnes Rofe to find out if you qualify for an R&D tax credit claim. We'll help you make a claim and obtain a refund of the correct amount of tax for you. Sound interesting? Visit barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
Late Nights with Ian Collins on LBC.
And Hannah, who said, don't go away, Georgia, with you in just a second. Hannah texts this point, which is kind of what I touched on about how invasive and how horrendous it must feel. Hannah says, a few years ago, a complete stranger grabbed my crutch in Oxford Circus as I walked past. It was too crowded for me to work out who it was. I've never felt as violated in my life. It's not the same, is it, as somebody sort of grabbing your arm or your leg or, you know, even your backside. It's just this clearly, you know, the epitome of intimacy and breaching that line, attacking a person in that kind of random respect as well. All of those elements, the unfathomable nature of your fellow human and the sense of vulnerability that if that can happen just walking down the street, man alive, what happens anywhere else where you're likely to? All of those, I would imagine, all of those dynamics are all kind of at work, and I doubt whether they fully go away. Which is why I'm interested to hear from a female perspective as to what you think if you've been a victim in this respect. And we are talking here about the kind of thing that this actor was convicted of, which was groping. It's sexual assault. He admitted to groping, where he grabbed 2 women while drunk in a nightclub, and the drunk element of the story is not, as I said before, a mitigating factor, which is the magistrate's words too, and he acknowledged that as well as the prosecution acknowledging that point. But nonetheless, night out, complete stranger, and that happens. What do you think should be the correct line of punishment for somebody who does that? And the reason I ask is because it's a genuine question about the wider issue, not of the man from Coronation Street, but the wider issue of anyone who's committed a sexual offence. What do they do next? Is there any way back? You know, if you've committed... If this, for example, if this guy was an electrician, he could probably find himself just anonymously working as a self-employed sparky somewhere, and nobody would necessarily know. But in terms of high-profile work, public-facing jobs, people in those kind of areas, where do they go after you've been convicted of a sexual offence? 0345 60600973. Georgia is in Hartlepool. How are you doing?
Good evening, Ian. I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. What are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, many years ago, I was walking down the road and some creep grabbed my bottom. He was in a car and they grabbed my bum and they drove right off. It's unpleasant and it's demeaning. I'm well over it. It's a long time ago. But I think that for this young man, and it seems very sad because he's a gorgeous-looking kid and, you know, it just stupid. It was a stupid thing to do. But when you said that some footballer who'd actually killed a couple of little kids...
While drunk, yeah.
Was drunk and got back on the road and got back into work and everything. That doesn't seem right at all. And I'm afraid this kid he's lost his career. It's sad. But
you can't get that back, can you? I mean, I find it... The only reason I say... I keep having to reiterate this. I find it haunting that he's lost his career. That doesn't in any way diminish what I feel about the offences. But it's just interesting that the way society works, because it's almost the only way it can work, because you kind of... It seems odd that he's been sentenced twice, once to what the court said, and secondly to the loss of his career for the remainder of time. But is there any other way round it?
I don't know, because is wearing a tag instead of going to prison, is that... I don't really understand the law and how it works.
I think there's something of that, and it's also, I think, sort of recognition of what somebody has done, that we are, you know, the part of your punishment is that you're under observation, I guess, to a degree.
Right. So if he'd had to go to prison, like you were talking to all these chaps over the week, when they come out and they can't get jobs, how long can they not get a job for? Because they've got a criminal record.
Yeah.
Well, because it was a sexual offence, it's still a criminal record. So...
But if you were doing any other kind of job, you would... Sorry, not any other kind of job. Certain jobs, you might anonymously be able to slide back into the workplace without anybody realising. But... It's difficult because we were just talking, you know, even if you work in an office and you were up front with your employer by saying, well, look, you know, I've got this conviction, your employer has then got to be satisfied that he can sit you in an office next to other females while knowing that you have a conviction for sexual assault.
Yeah, it's a tough line because he didn't rape anybody. I mean, whether he would have raped, you know, because that's the ultimate of hideous.
Yes, there is, you know, whether we like it or not, there is a scale of severity in this area, like there is with any kind of crime. But it's still a serious crime, of course. But you pay. He's going to pay twice. Is that right, or is that just inevitable? Or would you, for example, if you were the producers of Coronation Street, would you give him his job back?
I think I'd be in the light of the footballer.
Yeah.
Why? What's good? Why should a footballer be able to murder a couple of kids and get back on?
Yeah, I remember debating endlessly the footballer at the time, and you know the fact that he's now back playing for Plymouth, a professional footballer. He's got a profile. There are kids who probably every week want to stand next to him and have their photograph taken after matches, and I doubt whether he's going to do it again either. But he was allowed back.
Well, maybe Todd can get maybe he can find his way back into his acting career in some way, and maybe he's not going to get a high-profile job, but maybe he can get get theatre or...
Well, yes, I mean, there is that possibility, I suppose. And I was trying to think. I think there are people who work currently in entertainment or high-profile jobs that have got some of these sort of more, I don't want to say minor, again, I keep underlining that, but these kind of convictions, and perhaps it was long before we micro-analyse them like we do today, but are probably working, and maybe half of us don't even know who they are on some occasions.
Well, I'm a friend of mine's son, who, when he was 16, got rude pictures from a 13-year-old girl on the internet, over the internet.
Yeah.
And he's 16 years old. He's on the sex offenders list. He's never coming off it.
Wow.
So he wanted to teach sports. It's never going to happen.
You see, that's a very brutal response. I've heard of those kind of issues before, involving kids and phones and selfies and all that kind of goes with that territory. That's horrendous. So he can't. Yeah, he'll never work, will he? In that chosen field.
Not in the job that he always wanted to do.
You get your original punishment, whatever that happens to be, and you get your public humiliation, and you have your career removed for the rest of your life. That's an interesting position we find ourselves in. Georgia, thank you for starting us off. That's a informative call. I'll talk to David in a second on this as well. Lynn says a grope is not a serious offence. Grow up. A serious offence is what ISIS do to women. Get a grip. Well, I think if my daughter was grabbed at the crotch by a stranger, I would really think that's quite serious. No one is suggesting, because, it's a sort of false equivalence, that you, just because, yes, people rape, and that's more serious, that doesn't mean to say that what happens at the other part of that scale isn't serious too. Of course it's serious. I would imagine, whether it should be career-ending for the perpetrator, sure, that's the debate we're having. But let's not run away with anything other than the idea that this is a serious offence. This one comes in from Jennifer in Clapham. When someone is in the public eye, they're in a privileged position of power. Why should they enjoy the benefits that come with this position when they've abused it? There are plenty of other people who are willing and able to take their place and will not feel the need to act inappropriately. Reinstating them into their previous role, like a television programme, is implying that there are no moral consequences to actions, only legal ones. But that, you're right, I agree with Jennifer. But there's nothing set down in law, if you like, that unless it's the unwritten moral code. The producers are simply echoing Jennifer's point. They're going, look, he's come to us, he's fessed up that this has happened, he says there's going to be a court case, he's been arrested, and he's not denying anything. We can't put you back in that. We just can't have you on screen when that's the offence you have under your belt. It's just not feasible. But, of course, that's not written in law anywhere, that you will lose your career for the rest of time. But this is not about actors. This is about the wider issue. Anyone in whatever job you have, and I will respect your anonymity if you've been the perpetrator, what you would call something that happened once and would never happen again, and you've no idea why it did, but it did. But if you found yourself in a position where you did something like this to someone, what is the deal with moving on? You can pretty much move on from most other jobs, most other offences at some level, but not the sexual offences, regardless of where it sits on the sort of sliding scale. You kind of can't really, not in high-profile positions. If you've been the victim or the perpetrator, I would respect and like to hear your stories too, and the wider view of how society deals with somebody who's committed these kind of crimes. 0345 6060 973. In just a moment, we'll be talking as well about, and this is rather interesting, how many times we touched on newspapers. The body that regulates most British newspapers has taken a significant step forward on compliance with the Leveson report after announcing that members of the public might be able to take libel action against newspapers for an upfront fee of £50. Dr. Evan Harris will join me next on LBC. More of your calls coming in as well. First, though, 10:30, the news headlines come from Paul Smith.
The UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting tomorrow to discuss North Korea's latest ballistic missile launch. The weapon travelled more more than 600 miles before landing in Japanese waters. The Telegraph is claiming a final figure has been agreed for the so-called Brexit divorce bill. A senior Whitehall official has refused to confirm a settlement of between £40 and £49 billion and said talks were still ongoing. It's been announced a chapel at Windsor Castle will host Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. Kensington Palace has also confirmed that the bride-to-be will be baptised and confirmed before they get married in May next year. LBC weather staying windy and cold overnight with a widespread frost. Any showers in the east will be wintry, a low of 3 degrees.
This is LBC.
Can you think of a reason why you shouldn't apply for an Ocean credit card? There's a credit limit of up to £1,500. They send you texts so you keep control of your spending, and you can see if you'll be accepted before you apply at checkocean.co.uk. Plus, checking won't affect your credit rating. But before you go and check, there's just one reason why you shouldn't. Because you've already got an Ocean credit card, right? Otherwise, get checking. Go to checkocean.co.uk. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One is the exclusive lender.
The 7-year itch. It's a real thing. The feeling that there's something better out there. Well, I'll let you in on a secret. There is. Under the Nissan Switch scheme, trade in your pre-2010 registered car and we'll give you up to £6,000 deposit contribution towards a Nissan X-Trail or up to £5,000 towards a Nissan Qashqai at 4.49% APR representative. For this and other Switch offers on selected new vehicles, search Nissan Switch. Available on X-Trail, Tecna and Qashqai N-Connector diesel models only. While stocks last, retail customers only, Nissan Finance. Subject to status, participating dealers, T's and C's at nissan.co.uk.
Cara, joining video conference.
Hi, Cara. Wow, check out your tan.
Thanks. I just got back from Greece.
Oh, nice. So, tell me, do we have 50 of this dress?
App says yes, but I'll double check. Yep, I'll send you some pics.
Fab.
Want to do more in less time? Unified Communications joins up your landlines, mobiles, desktops, laptops and tablets to improve productivity. The future is exciting. Ready? Search Vodafone Business. Terms and conditions apply.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then